My name is Margaret Henderson, and I'm 69 years old. I'm about to tell you a story that will break your heart because it broke mine. It's about the night I opened my door to someone I thought I could trust, someone who carried my sister's smile and my own blood. I had no idea that welcoming him into my home would cost me everything I had left in this world. But sometimes, the people who hurt us most are the ones we love, without question. 3 years ago, when my Robert passed away, I thought I knew what loneliness felt like, but nothing prepared me for the isolation that came after my stroke. Sitting in this wheelchair, watching the world go by through my living room window, I'd started to believe that maybe my story was over. Maybe I was just waiting for my time to come. Then, on that rainy October night, my doorbell rang at 3:47 a.m. I rolled my wheelchair to the door, my heart pounding. Nobody visits at that hour, unless something's terribly wrong. Through the peephole, I saw a face that made my breath catch those same blue eyes my sister Linda had. That same crooked smile that used to charm teachers into giving him extra time on homework. Aunt Margaret, it's me, Danny. Danny Morrison, my sister's boy. I hadn't seen him since Linda's funeral 2 years ago, but there he was, soaking wet with a duffel bag over his shoulder, looking like a lost puppy. My hands shook as I fumbled with the locks. Danny, sweetheart, what are you doing here so late? When I opened that door, I thought I was saving him. God help me, I thought I was the answer to his prayers. I'm so sorry to bother you, Aunt Margaret. I know it's late, but... His voice cracked, and I could see tears mixing with the rainwater on his cheeks. I lost my job last month, and my landlord kicked me out today. I had nowhere else to go. I was sleeping in my car, and I remembered you always said family comes first. My heart just melted. This was Linda's baby, the little boy I'd watched grow up at family barbecues and Christmas dinners. I remembered how Linda used to worry about him, how hard she worked to give him a good life after his father abandoned them. Oh honey, of course, come in, you're soaking wet. When he hugged me, I felt his ribs through his jacket. He was so thin, so fragile looking. I wanted to feed him, to take care of him the way Linda would have wanted me to. I promise I won't be a burden, Aunt Margaret. I'll take care of you, help around the house. I know it's been tough since Uncle Robert passed, and with your condition. I waved his concerns away. Nonsense. Your family. We take care of each other. That night, as I lay in bed listening to him settle into the guest room, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Maybe God had sent Danny to me for a reason. Maybe we could help each other heal. I was such a fool. For the first few weeks, Danny seemed like an angel. He cooked my meals, real meals, not just the frozen dinners I'd been living on. He helped me with my physical therapy exercises, making me laugh when the pain got too bad. He even got my car running again and drove me to my doctor's appointments. Dr. Williams was impressed. It's wonderful that you have family support, Margaret. That makes all the difference in recovery. I was so proud introducing Danny as my nephew. He's taking such good care of me, I'd tell anyone who'd listen. But looking back now, I can see how he was studying me, learning my routines, my weaknesses, how he'd ask innocent questions during our evening talks. You know, Aunt Margaret, he said one night as he organized my pill dispenser, you really should consider organizing your finances better. Uncle Robert handled everything, didn't he? I nodded, feeling that familiar pang of helplessness. Robert had managed everything for 45 years. After he died, I was completely lost trying to figure out our accounts, insurance policies, and investments. I could help you with that, Danny offered, so casually, so caring. I took some business courses in college, and I've been managing my own investments for years. We could set up online banking, make everything easier for you. I felt tears of gratitude welling up. Would you really do that for me? Of course. That's what family is for. The next day, Danny drove me to First National Bank. I was so grateful for his help, for his patience as he explained each form and document. Mrs. Peterson, the bank manager, kept commenting on what a devoted nephew I had. It's wonderful to see young people taking care of their elders. she said as she processed the paperwork to add Danny as a joint account holder. "Your nephew seems very dedicated to your well-being, Mrs. Henderson." "He's been such a blessing," I said, squeezing Danny's hand. If only I'd known I was signing away my security, my future, my peace of mind. When we got home, Danny helped me set up online banking on my computer. "This way, you can check your accounts anytime," he explained, typing rapidly. "I'll write everything down for you so you don't forget." But the passwords he wrote down weren't the ones he entered. I know that now. At the time, I just thought I was getting confused, that maybe my stroke had affected my memory more than I'd realized. The changes started so gradually that I almost missed them. A $20 bill would disappear from my purse. A restaurant charge would appear on my credit card statement for a place I'd never been to. "Oh, that must be from when I picked up dinner for us last week," Danny would explain with such sincerity. "I used your card because I left my wallet upstairs. I meant to give you the cash, but I forgot. Here, let me get it for you now." He'd hand me $20 with tears in his eyes, apologizing profusely for the confusion. I felt guilty for even questioning him. During our evening conversations, Danny would ask about Robert's investments, my insurance policies, our savings accounts. I thought he was just trying to help me understand my finances better. I had no idea he was building a map of everything Robert and I had worked for over 4 decades. "Uncle Robert was smart to invest in that CD," he'd say casually. "How much did he put into that again?" $25,000, I'd answer, proud of my husband's financial wisdom. He always said it was our security blanket. Danny would nod thoughtfully, sometimes even jotting down notes. "Just so I can help you keep track of everything, Aunt Margaret. I don't want you to worry about any of this." I trusted him completely. Why wouldn't I? He was Linda's son, my own flesh and blood. He cooked for me, helped me shower, drove me to church on Sundays. He was everything I needed in those dark months of grief and recovery. What I didn't know was that Danny was drowning in debt. Credit cards, gambling losses, money he owed to people who weren't patient about repayment. He'd been fired from his last 3 jobs for stealing from employers. When he showed up at my door that night, he wasn't just homeless, he was desperate, and I was the perfect target. 2 months after Danny moved in, I started noticing problems with my accounts. My Social Security deposit seemed smaller than usual. A withdrawal would appear on my bank statement that I didn't remember making. The first time I called the bank, confused and worried, Danny took the phone right out of my hands. "Let me handle this for you, Aunt Margaret. You know how these bank clerks can be with older customers, they don't always take you seriously. I'll get to the bottom of this." He'd speak to them with such authority, such confidence. When he hung up, he always had a reasonable explanation. There was a service fee they forgot to mention, or they had to adjust for a government change in benefits. I believed him. God, forgive me. I was so grateful to have someone handle these confusing financial matters that I never questioned his explanations. What I didn't know was that Danny had been systematically moving my money into accounts he'd opened in my name, accounts I knew nothing about. He'd practiced forging my signature using old documents from Robert's desk. He knew my Social Security number, my mother's maiden name, every security question the banks asked. The cruelest part was how small the amounts were at first. $50 here, $100 there. Nothing that would trigger bank alerts or cause me to panic. Just a slow leak that was draining away everything Robert and I had saved for my old age. Danny also started collecting my mail before I could see it. "You get so many bank statements and investment reports, Aunt Margaret," he'd say. "Why don't I organize them by date and importance? That way, you only have to look at what's really necessary." I was overwhelmed by all the paperwork I'd never had to handle during my marriage. I was grateful for his help, never realizing he was hiding evidence of his theft from me. By spring, I later learned, Danny had stolen nearly $50,000 from my accounts. But apparently, that wasn't enough. He started taking bigger risks, larger amounts. And then he came for the biggest prize of all, my house. "Aunt Margaret," he said one evening over dinner, "I've been thinking about your future security. What if something happens to you? What if you have another stroke? The thought terrified me. I'd barely survived the first one. I think we should put your house in both our names, he continued, reaching across the table to take my hand. That way, if anything happens to you, there won't be any legal complications. I could continue living here, taking care of the place, honoring your memory. He had tears in his eyes as he spoke. I want to make sure you're protected, Aunt Margaret. It's what Mom would have wanted for me to take care of you the way you took care of me. I was so moved by his devotion, his foresight. You really think that's necessary? I do. And there's something else. I think we should set up a trust fund for your medical expenses. If you need extended care, nursing home costs, that sort of thing. I've been researching it, and the best way to protect your assets is to transfer them into a trust now, while you're still healthy enough to make these decisions. Danny had done his homework. He had official-looking documents, explanations that sounded so professional, so caring. He'd even arranged for a lawyer to come to the house, though I later learned this lawyer was just a friend of his who'd been kicked out of law school for cheating. This is all for your protection, Mrs. Henderson, the fake lawyer assured me. Your nephew is being very responsible, planning for your future care. I signed everything they put in front of me. I thought I was securing my future. Instead, I was signing it all away. The truth began to unravel on a Tuesday morning in June. I was expecting my physical therapist, Mrs. Chen, for our weekly session. But when the doorbell rang, it wasn't Mrs. Chen standing there. It was my neighbor, Helen Murphy, holding a piece of mail. This was delivered to my house by mistake. Margaret, Helen said, handing me an envelope from my investment company. The mail carrier mixed up our addresses again. I thanked Helen and wheeled back inside, calling for Danny to help me open it. But Danny was in the shower, and curiosity got the better of me. I managed to tear open the envelope myself. What I saw made my blood run cold. According to the statement, my investment account, the one that had contained $75,000 of Robert's carefully saved money, had a balance of $3,247. My hands shook as I stared at the numbers. There had to be a mistake. Danny had been managing my accounts, organizing everything. He would have told me if there were any problems. When Danny came downstairs, hair still wet from his shower, I held up the statement with trembling hands. Danny, honey, I think there's been a terrible mistake. This statement shows almost no money in Robert's investment account. That can't be right, can it? For just a moment, just a split second, Danny's mask slipped. I saw something cold and calculating flash across his face before his usual concerned expression returned. Oh, Aunt Margaret, I was hoping to discuss this with you later. Your financial advisor recommended moving that money into a higher yield account. I have all the paperwork upstairs. Let me go get it for you. But something in his tone, something in that momentary expression, had awakened a terrible suspicion in my mind. As Danny headed upstairs, I wheeled myself to the kitchen and called the investment company directly. This is Margaret Henderson, I said when someone answered. I need to check on my account balance. After verifying my identity, the representative confirmed my worst fears. Mrs. Henderson, your account was closed 3 months ago. The funds were transferred to a checking account at First National Bank. Transferred by whom? By Daniel Morrison. He's listed as joint owner on your account. The room started spinning. Can you tell me the account number where the money was transferred? She gave me a number I didn't recognize. When I called First National and asked about this account, they told me it had been opened in my name, but the address on file wasn't my address. It was a P.O. box downtown. That's when I knew. That's when the full, horrible truth crashed down on me like a mountain. Danny Morrison, my sister's son, the boy I'd welcomed with open arms, was stealing my life away, dollar by dollar, signature by signature. I spent the rest of that morning making phone calls, my heart breaking with each conversation. The trust fund Danny had set up. It was fake. The lawyer who'd come to my house, a fraud. The house that I thought was still mine. Danny had somehow managed to get his name added to the deed, and there was already a mortgage against Ida mortgage I'd never signed for. with payments that were mysteriously being made from my trust fund. By the time Danny came back downstairs, I had a folder full of real bank statements, real account information, and real evidence of his betrayal. "Danny," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "we need to talk." He sat down across from me, still wearing that mask of concern. "Of course, Aunt Margaret. What's on your mind? Where is my money?" The question hung in the air between us. I watched his face carefully, saw him calculating, deciding how much he could still lie his way out of. "I'm not sure what you mean. Stop." My voice was sharp, stronger than it had been in months. "I called the bank. I called the investment company. I know about the fake trust, the mortgage you took out on my house, the P.O. box. I know everything, Danny." For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Linda's blue eyes, which had once seemed so warm and familiar, now looked cold and foreign in her son's face. Then Danny laughed. Actually laughed. "You can't prove anything, Aunt Margaret. You're an old woman who's had a stroke. Who's going to believe you over me? I'm the devoted nephew who's been taking care of you. You're confused, mixing up your medications, losing your memory." The cruelty in his voice was like a physical blow. "How could you do this to me? I loved you like my own son. I would have given you anything you needed, you just had to ask." Ask. Danny's facade completely crumbled now, revealing the person he'd been hiding all along. Ask for what? A few $100s here and there. You're sitting on $400,000 while I'm drowning in debt. You don't need all this money, you're old. You're disabled. You're going to die soon anyway. At least I'm putting it to good use. Those words, "you're going to die soon anyway," cut deeper than any physical pain I'd ever experienced. This was Linda's child, the little boy I'd read bedtime stories to, whose scraped knees I'd bandaged, whose birthday parties I'd never missed. "You're sick," I whispered. "You need help. What I need is for you to keep your mouth shut and let me finish what I started. You sign over the rest of your accounts to me, and I'll take care of you until you die. Fight me, and I'll put you in the cheapest nursing home I can find, and let them warehouse you until you rot." That night, after Danny went out to run errands, probably to meet with whoever was helping him launder my money, I did something I hadn't done in years. I fought back. I called my friend Helen next door and asked her to come over. Together, we gathered every document we could find, every piece of evidence of Danny's theft. Helen helped me scan everything and email it to myself, creating a backup in case Danny tried to destroy the evidence. Then, I called the police. Detective Sarah Rodriguez arrived within an hour. She was a kind woman, probably in her 40s, with patient eyes and a gentle manner. She listened to my story without interruption, taking notes and asking clarifying questions. "Mrs. Henderson, I want you to know that elder financial abuse is a serious crime. We see cases like this more often than you might think. The fact that it's a family member doesn't make it any less criminal." I started crying then, not from sadness, but from relief. Someone believed me. Someone was going to help. "We'll need to document everything," Detective Rodriguez explained. "Bank records, forged signatures, the fake trust documents. It's going to take time to build a case, but we will get your money back." When Danny came home that evening, I was waiting for him in the living room. The difference was, this time I wasn't alone. Detective Rodriguez and her partner were there too. "Daniel Morrison," Detective Rodriguez said, standing up as Danny walked through the door, "you're under arrest for elder financial abuse, fraud, and identity theft." The look on Danny's face was one I'll never forget. Shock, rage, and something that might have been fear, all mixed together. As they put the handcuffs on him, he looked at me with pure hatred. "You stupid old woman. You don't know what you've done. I'm family blood. They're going to throw you in a home and forget about you." "No," I said quietly. "You're not family anymore. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't threaten each other. Family doesn't prey on the people who love them." The legal process took 8 months. During that time, I learned the full extent of Danny's betrayal. He'd stolen $127,000 from my various accounts. He'd taken out a $50,000 mortgage on my house, without my knowledge. He'd opened credit cards in my name and maxed them out. He'd even tried to access my late husband's pension fund. But worse than the money was the emotional devastation. Danny had systematically isolated me from my few remaining friends, convincing me that he was the only one who truly cared about my welfare. He'd monitored my phone calls, filtered my mail, and gradually made me dependent on him for everything. The prosecution was led by Assistant District Attorney Maria Santos, who specialized in elder abuse cases. She was fierce and compassionate, treating my case with the seriousness it deserved. "Your nephew's actions weren't just theft," she told me during one of our meetings. "They were a form of psychological torture. He systematically broke down your independence, your security, and your trust in order to exploit you more effectively." During the trial, I had to testify against Danny. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Sitting in that courtroom, looking at Linda's son in handcuffs, describing how he'd betrayed my love and trust, it felt like I was losing my sister all over again. Danny's defense attorney tried to paint me as a confused old woman who'd willingly given her nephew access to her accounts. But the evidence was overwhelming. The forged signatures, the fake documents, the secret accounts, it all painted a clear picture of deliberate, calculated fraud. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts, Danny was sentenced to 7 years in prison and ordered to pay full restitution. But even though I got most of my money back, some things can never be restored. My sense of security, my faith in family, my ability to trust those were gone forever. That was 2 years ago. Danny has never tried to contact me from prison, and I wouldn't respond if he did. As far as I'm concerned, Linda's son died the day he looked me in the eye and told me I was going to die soon anyway. I've had to rebuild my life from the ground up. I changed all my passwords, closed all the accounts Danny had access to, and hired a reputable financial advisor recommended by my bank. I've also joined a support group for elder abuse survivors. It helps to talk to people who understand what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trusted completely. The house feels different now. I've redecorated, changed the locks, even gotten a security system. I needed to erase every trace of Danny's presence here. The guest room where he lived is now my art studio. I've taken up painting again, something I hadn't done since Robert was alive. I've also become an advocate for elder abuse awareness. I speak at community centers, churches, and senior groups about the warning signs of financial abuse. I tell my story because I want other people to know they're not alone, and that it's never too late to fight back. Trust your instincts, I tell them. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And remember, no one has the right to take advantage of you, even if they share your blood. People often ask me if I regret helping Danny that night he showed up at my door. The answer is complicated. I regret the pain he caused me, the money he stole, the trust he destroyed. But I don't regret being the kind of person who opens her door to family in need. I don't regret having a heart that believes in the goodness of people. What I've learned is that love and trust are not the same thing. I can love the memory of the little boy Danny once was, the child my sister raised with such hope and dedication. But I can never trust the man he became. I'm 71 now, and I'm stronger than I was before Danny entered my life. Not physically, the stroke still affects my mobility, and I'll always need my wheelchair. But emotionally, spiritually, I'm made of steel now. I know what I'm capable of surviving. I know I can stand up for myself, even when the person hurting me is someone I love. My sister Linda used to say that family is everything. I still believe that's true. But now I know that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who show up for you with genuine love, who protect you instead of preying on you, who earn your trust through their actions rather than demanding it because of their DNA. To anyone listening to this story who might be going through something similar, you are not alone, you are not helpless, and you are not responsible for other people's choices to hurt you. There is help available, there are people who will believe you, and it's never too late to take back your power. Danny thought he could steal my future. Instead, he gave me a new one where I know exactly who I am and what I'm worth. And that's something no one can ever take away from me again.